G'day and welcome to Beyond Sobriety, an unofficial AA podcast. This is a place where you will hear real stories of recovery and resilience. I'm Michael and I'm an alcoholic, your host and fellow journeyer on the road to sobriety. As someone who has walked the path of addiction and found solace in the fellowship of Alcoholics Anonymous, I understand the challenges and triumphs that come with striving for sobriety. And it's with this understanding and empathy we've created this podcast. Our purpose here at Beyond Sobriety is simple yet profound, to provide a platform where individuals can share their experience of alcoholism openly and authentically. Through candid conversation, personal narrative, and expert insights, we aim to inspire hope, foster understanding, and offer a beacon of light to those still navigating the shadows of addiction. So whether you're someone in recovery, a loved one supporting a friend or family member, or simply seeking insight into the journey of sobriety, you're in the right place. Join us as we embark on this transformative journey together. I'm Michael and I'm an alcoholic, and this is Beyond Sobriety. Welcome. Hi, so I'm here with Denise. Denise, why don't you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Denise. I'm an alcoholic and I've been sober for 54 days.
54 days. I remember when I first got sober, one day was a lot for me. How are you going with the early days of sobriety?
Taking one day at a time. I have a calendar in the bathroom and I tick off every day. So I'm just ticking off every day as I listen to podcast, the podcast. I listen to voiceovers, and the Everyday AA app has got different things on it, and I read the big book.
So you've started reading that already?
Yeah, I have.
Yeah, how far into it are you?
I'm four or five chapters in, and I just go over it. I do read, I go over it and just make sure that I'm retaining and keeping it going. But yeah, I'm taking every day as it comes, just one day at a time.
When I first started reading the big book, I noticed that some of the stories that were in there, even though they're quite old, I could relate to a lot of them. And that just blew my mind because I didn't think there was anybody else out there like me. Are you finding the same thing, or how you?
It's reinforcing the fellowship, I think. Yeah, as far as the fellowship and everybody going through the same things, having something in common, I find going into the rooms and having that support beneficial. But yeah, just reading over and just reinforcing, and that's what I'm doing. And I haven't told a lot of people, and my son who lives here knows about it. My daughter only found out this weekend, and she was over the moon because a lot of her criticism has come from different things that have happened. Times that I've drunk too much, and she has been the most vocal. And I didn't tell her from the very beginning that I was starting AA because she has been critical. And then she found out this weekend because we were talking about it, and she said, "Oh, we'll go for a wine." And I said, "No, it's okay, I don't want to go." And then I said, "I'll just have a soda or something." And then, because we were down for my granddaughter's dance concert, and then we just went for a drink as far as non-alcoholic, and I told her that I was doing AA, and she was just really emotional from that side of it. She very supportive and just very emotional, and that I was doing it, and then I'd started doing it on my own.
Oh, that's really good. What kind of a drinker were you?
My parents were social drinkers. Like, they were Sunday school teachers. I was brought up in the Lutheran church, and we were always having church social functions. Wine and cheese nights were big, and that they would do social evenings, and it was very low key drinking. They were not big drinkers at all, just social drinkers. It wasn't until I was probably in my late 20s, early 30s, and that when I worked in disability, I worked with disabled children. I wasn't drinking then. It was when I started, I was a cardiac nurse, and I was in coronary care, and my husband always said, and that's when the drinking started. I wasn't a drinker before that, so that I would have been in my late 20s, early 30s when I started drinking, and I used coronary care and the patients that I looked after, because we did have deaths, I would lay patients out. I would take patients to the morgue. We had sad stories. People and that with cardiac conditions, heart failure. As a nurse, I think I empathised and probably used that as an excuse. I had some work accidents, and that one night we went out for a Christmas party with an open bar. I drank so much that ended up in hospital. I've had 2 accidents like that where I've had bad falls. I've been really lucky. I haven't had any car accidents where I probably could have when I've been driving and I've drunk too much. I've got home okay. I was safe. Probably God got me home, because I don't know how I did. I had one friend driving behind me and she said to me, I was so terrified. Denise, I was so terrified. The car door was open. You were driving with the car door open and I didn't even realise. So I don't know how I got home that night. That was from Glenfield. I was driving home from a friend's house. So I've been lucky that I haven't done worse to myself. I've got pin and plates in elbow and in my wrist from accidents that I've had from just falling over drunk. But that wasn't enough to actually stop me. There was a few months ago, I started going to AA because I went to a work reunion, and I bought a few bottles of wine to take, as you do, and I took a plate of food and I took wine, and I drank both bottles of wine that I took. And I think I was probably embarrassed by that I drank the wine that I took to share.
That's a lot right there. I mean, there's so many different things I wanted to jump in on there. Just the drunk driving, and just how everybody in AA I know is just like, drunk driving is just no big deal for us. It was an everyday thing. I don't know. Did you drink daily, or were you?
Yes.
Yeah, I would drink on the way home from work. So I would either stop and get something on the way home from work, or I'd already have something in the car. And the goal was to drink, a certain distance from home, so that by the time I got home, I was feeling that buzz. And that's what I did every day. And, the idea of not doing that scared the hell out of me. Did you have any fears coming into AA, or were you scared to stop drinking?
I was nervous, didn't think I could do it. Knew I had to. I would wake up and not really feel bad. I would feel, quite not remembering the night before. I would get up and not realise how much I had to drink. I would think, okay, 1 bottle. I was always drinking 1 bottle. It was always 1 bottle a night. But there were nights there that I would wake up in the morning and think, oh my God, and that 2 bottles, I drank 2 bottles of wine. That was starting to worry me. As a nurse, I've looked after alcoholic dementia in my career, and that made me nervous. Brain damage from alcohol. And I was thinking, you don't want to be that. That was a conscious thing that I did keep in my mind, that I thought I really need to cut that back, because it was starting to become an issue. I wouldn't come home unless I had wine in the car. I would go to, it would be in every 2 days, I would pick up 3 bottles of wine every 2 days and go through that.
Yeah. When I realised I had a problem was when it got to about 2 bottles a night, 2 bottles of wine a night for me, and then I could feel myself after a couple of hours sobering up after 2 bottles, and then I switched to fortified wine, because it's stronger. And it was about getting as much alcohol into me as quickly as possible, because otherwise I would feel bloated and yuck. And it's amazing how much you think about it, isn't it? It's a science. A lot of people think that alcoholics and drunks got no idea what's going on. I knew exactly what I was doing, how to do it, where it was hid, everything like that. How was the first 24 hours for you?
Working where I do, and that I work in a pub, I would look at it and think, it looks amazing, and just try and... I was nervous about going out, and that socially with friends, I was nervous, thinking, how am I going to cope without alcohol? Because I would go out even for an afternoon, like people would meet up for coffee, and I would have a wine rather than have the coffee, and I was always the one that would be drinking, where other people were just having soda or it was me having wine, and I was nervous about social events, things that I would normally do with alcohol. I was worried how I would cope without, and that if I went out in a social situation. I did keep myself distracted. I started drinking lemon water, making sure I had water. I started doing, just changing habits. Instead of falling asleep, I would be awake watching stuff. Watching a movie, I would actually get to see the end of the movie where I never would have before. Yeah, so those are the things I'm conscious of. Not waking up with a headache, and that felt better days in. I wasn't sure how I would go. That's why I was taking one day at a time, and I still take one day at a time, because I was nervous that I could go back. Because even in my mind now, in the back of my mind, I think, I wonder if I would ever start back drinking. And I just don't think that far ahead, just take one day at a time. And so far I've been 54 days in and I haven't had a drink, and I'm thinking about it less and less. Still think about it, but less and less, less than I was.
Well, how you said you started drinking in your
late 20s to early
20s.
30s, yeah.
And so, how many years, like your drinking, I guess, career started, a number of years ago. It's going to take time to get that out of your head. Even the habits, the psychological habits, the physical habits. I couldn't go to Aldi's, funnily enough. I couldn't go to Aldi's for about probably 6 months, because I used to go there when I didn't have cash on me. I would go to Aldi's because you could buy alcohol at the register with your groceries, and it wouldn't be like a BWS receipt, and so my wife wouldn't know about it. So I stayed away from there, and the fact that at the moment you're there saying, I'm thinking about it less and less. It took me so long to get to that point. I had a number of false starts when I walked in. So I'll get a week, and then I'll drink again, then I'll get maybe a half a week, then I'll drink again, then 2 or 3 weeks. The longest I got was about 3 weeks. And then finally I'd had enough, and I thought, I've got to put this down. But you mentioned when you were talking before about, you'll be awake more. One of my fears, and one of the big things about AA, is we realised that our behaviour was driven by fear. I was afraid of a lot of things, and I coped with that through drinking. And when I was talking to, he wasn't my sponsor then, but the guy who became my sponsor, I said, he goes, "Well, what are you afraid of?" I said, "What if I can't sleep?" And he said, "Mate," he goes, "who cares?" He goes, "You'll sleep the next night." He goes, "Have you done night shift before?" I said, "Yeah." He goes, "So you get a few hours less sleep." He goes, "Eventually you'll sleep." He goes, "And then the next night you'll be tired and you'll sleep." And I thought about it. I thought, I had such a grip of fear on my life and that was a big thing to go, no, I've got to drink, because otherwise I won't be able to fall asleep at night. And that was stopping me getting sober. And I realized it was all in my head. It's not a real fear. It's not like, I guess all fears are psychological, but some of them are more warranted than others. But the fact of going, you might be a bit tired the next day is inconsequential when it comes to the rest of your life.
In my case, I found I would start drinking when I got home from work, and that from about 3:30, 4 o'clock, and then I would be falling asleep early in the evening. But I found, and I told myself, and I remember, and that making this, it's helping me sleep. The wine is helping me sleep. I couldn't sleep, especially after I lost my husband. And then I thought, it's helping me sleep. I need this. I need it. As I was drinking more and more, I was sleeping less and less. I would be awake from 12 o'clock till 4 a.m. in the morning. Yeah. And I was so abreast on Netflix, there was nothing I had left to watch because I had watched everything.
Yeah.
And I'm thinking, you're kidding yourself. I am actually using this as an excuse to fall asleep, but it's not actually helping me sleep. It didn't help me sleep, and it was getting worse the more I drank, because I would be awake halfway through the night and then not be able to sleep for the rest of it. And that's so, and I have, like you said, I have had times in my life where I did go weeks. I would go a few months. When my husband was sick, I went 9 months without alcohol, because I was driving to different hospitals. He was in Bankstown, he was in Liverpool, and I wasn't drinking then for 9 months, because I was worried that the hospital rang me and he needed me, I would be there. And when he was palliative, I stayed at the hospital. So for 9 months I didn't drink. But then my daughter actually told me this morning, because she's so excited that I'm not drinking, she said, yeah, Mum, you didn't drink when he was sick, but you didn't cope when you lost him, when he went. So I started drinking quite heavily after that.
Yeah. One of the things that really hit me, and I'm not sure if anyone's described it to you like this yet, drinking is a symptom of alcoholism. It's not alcoholism. The alcoholism is like I can't even describe it properly. It's like your brain. It's a way your brain copes with things, and the drinking is a symptom of that. And so the reason you get well is not because you stop drinking, although that is a huge part of it, but it is about dealing with the reasons why you were drinking in the first place, and uncovering those is hard. It's a lot of work, and it disrupts lives, and it disrupts friendships and relationships and families. And what I realized is that I don't want to be the guy who just doesn't drink. On the wall in AA, you've got 12 traditions, you've got the 12 steps, and then you've got the 12 promises. I want the promises. I'm not here just to be the sober guy at the party, or the sober guy out with my friends, or hey, this is Mike, he doesn't drink. I don't want to be known for that. I want to be known of, being a well-rounded individual. And what
shouldn't be as a factor that you're introduced that way.
Exactly. It's not my identity.
Yeah, exactly.
But yeah, it's hard.
It's a choice, isn't it? It's a choice that you've made, but it shouldn't be something that is announced as you are.
Yeah, absolutely. What are some of the craziest things, like just thinking about the madness and the unacceptability becoming acceptable? What kind of stuff do you use to do to get a drink?
To drink, like anywhere that I would go, and that, like, even meeting up, and that it was always, and that I would be the one that would order the wine, like every instance that I went out, even when girls weren't, friends weren't drinking, and that I would always be the one with the wine. As far as, I would just always have it, and that always have it.
What was your first time in AA like?
My first time in AA, I will always remember feeling welcome, completely welcome. And now when I see new people starting, the first thing that was mentioned to me at the end of the meeting, I said, okay, so what do I do now? Because I thought, okay, I will be coming back. But that was the one thing that was mentioned to me by two people that I'd spoken to over the phone. I felt very welcome, and they said, you just keep coming back. And I thought, well, if that's all I've got to do, I can do that. I can keep coming back. And after that, going back, and I have been at other meetings. I've done the Saturday morning meeting. I do plan on doing other meetings through the week if I can't make my usual home meeting, which is Thursday. I will be going to other meetings, and I have met people that are completely, I can relate to, and I understand situations, and that they've been in, that I have had similar situations where you don't know, like you've been at a party and you wake up and you don't know where you are, or people have been worried about you, or they put you to bed early in the afternoon because you're just so drunk you're just a write-off anyway, and that's the afternoon gone.
Did you try anything else to get sober, or just AA?
As I said, I've had breaks where I could stop, but then I would use an excuse, that was a terrible shift, and that you've had this happen today, and that you've deserved a drink, you've earned it, you've worked really hard today, you had a terrible this experience was just so bad, you need to have a drink, you need it, you've earned it, you've deserved it. So I would do that.
There was always a reason to drink. If it was a good day, you celebrate. If it was a bad day, you commiserate. If you're bored, it was always there. What's one of your high points so far? What are you enjoying about your new life?
I'm really excited that my daughter has been so supportive, and as I said, she only found out this weekend, but from her being as critical as she has been about my drinking, and she has been very vocal about it, to her this weekend saying, I'm so proud of you. My boys are always supportive. And that, mind you though, and that they have been concerned about my drinking, but they never made comment. But apparently they have been discussing it behind, with each other. And my daughter did say that my eldest son had said different things about my drinking to her and how concerned he was, but I was unaware of that. He is very supportive to me. And I suppose to highlight, as I said, I haven't said it to a lot of people. I'm proud. I think I'm proud of myself because I didn't think I'd make it into 54 days. And I am proud of myself, and I am proud every day I get to tick that I have been sober for that day. And I am enjoying that. And I have been out socially. I went to a 60th party the other day, and I didn't find it as hard as I thought I would, just to have a mineral water, cup of tea, cup of coffee, and I didn't find it as hard as I thought I would. It is just one day at a time, though, because I don't think you can take off a chunk and say, you're thinking Christmas has always been a very big drinking time, and that as far as alcohol, having people over. But I'm looking at different avenues and looking at different choices for Christmas.
No, absolutely. Like there was a guy that was in the rooms a number of years ago, and I remember I was talking to him, and he said he was scared because he knew he needed to stop drinking, and he would take recreational drugs as well while he was drinking, and it was getting a real problem for him. And it was his brother's bucks party, and he goes, I'm scared what's going to happen if I go to that. He goes, it's going to set me off again, because he was doing quite well. He had about 30 days up, and I was messaging him. I never got a response after the bucks party. Never saw him again. And I think it's really important to have those barriers, to go, look, I might go here, but go, you need to know your limits as well. If that's one of your triggers, like I said, I avoided Audi. That wasn't a bucks party. I avoided Audi because I knew if I went there, then I would start drinking. I avoided carrying cash around in my pocket because I used to hide it from my wife and those things. So, to say that you at this stage at only 54 days, you can do that and go out, that's really good. It shows a real depth of character. A lot of things in AA have to do with the concept of a higher power. Now, I guess I have a fairly traditional view of God, a more probably conservative religious view, just due to who I am, my upbringing and my training. But who is your higher power, and have you had an experience, I guess, of God or what you understand God to be since starting AA?
I don't find it as hard as others might. I've always had the belief in God, and I wanted my children to have that. As I said, my parents were Sunday school teachers. I was brought up that God is an entity in your life. He is always there. There's good and evil in life. And I wanted my children to have that. I've had some good experiences with going to church. I've had some eye-openers. I've had things that I thought were really judgmental and on the part of churchgoers. Having a higher power and believing it's God, and that was not a problem for me. I believe that the concept of handing your problems over because you cannot deal with them yourself, and it is hard to do it on your own, handing it to a higher power and saying, I can't deal with this on my own. I don't find that hard as a concept. I believe in God. I honestly believe God has looked after me better than I look after myself most days, and I do have that belief. And it was wavering, and that when I lost my husband, but I've always believed, and I've always had that he is always with me regardless of what I'm doing, and I do believe in that.
Yeah.
So I find that an easy concept, and that to believe, hand it to a higher power. We cannot do it on our own. We are just human, and handing it to God and saying, God, and that I need to do it with you. And that's an easy concept for me.
Yeah.
And I understand some people don't, but it's whatever you believe it to be, and that if it's not God for you, there's got to be a higher power. We are not the whole entity in life, and that there is a higher power, and to hand it over, I think, is an easy concept for me.
Yeah. See, like I had probably a similar upbringing, going to Sunday school, going to church and things. But when it really boiled down to it, and I was there, the God that I had learnt to understand wasn't able to help me with this. I would go to church every week and I'd still be an alcoholic. there's one of the guys, and you know who I'm talking about, in the rooms that said, someone said to him, he doesn't know somebody who's prayed in the morning and drunk in the afternoon. And I sit there and go, that was me. That had been me so many times. And because I don't know if it was I was asking God the wrong questions, but what got me was that I was faced with a situation where I was talking to somebody who, and I'll be honest, like I was talking to somebody that I would almost look down on in their walk with God, because who is this person to tell me about God? I know more about God than you. And they were telling me, hey, why don't you talk to God about this? Why don't you put this over in God's hand? And I was like, I've tried that. It doesn't work. I remember I decided, I was in very early sobriety, and this is it's a God moment for me, because I thought I'll take this person's advice, and I decided I was going to go straight onto the bottle shop and get myself a drink. It's just what I did every day, and that's what I decided to do. Even though I was trying to get sober, that's what I decided to do. And I just said, God, help me get through this. Help me not drink today. 5 seconds later, I found myself turning left and going home. And I sit there and go, I didn't have the power to do that. That was not in me to do that. And I sit there and go, that was God. And, we sometimes we think of God as, this big cloud in the sky, something big. But what I've found, especially after coming into AA rooms, is that it's more of the subtle conversation, and it's a word of encouragement from somebody that can really be God and how God works. Because, I can't.
That you're not doing it on your own.
Yeah, because I can't do it by myself.
Do you think it's brought you closer to your wife?
Yes and no. I mean, I went through a stage where I blamed her for my drinking. And then as I've looked at it, I've gone, no, it's my fault. Mm. Even if her behaviour was not ideal, which I think you've been married. I've been married for 16 years. No one's behaviour is perfect all the time. But even if that was the case, the onus was on me to stand up and to say something of what I thought was unacceptable, rather than internalising it and then turning to alcohol. So I guess to answer your question, in some aspects, yes. I'm not lying to her every day anymore, which is good. I'm not hiding my alcohol and my drinks from her every day, which is good. It definitely has. But then, it has also opened up other conversations, which I probably should have had, 14 years ago, which again, like I said at the start, getting sober isn't easy, because it's not just about the not drinking, it's about dealing with everything else around you. And sometimes, when you are in a marriage and you're in a relationship like that, it really has to be a partnership. I've treated my entire relationship as a partnership. We do things together. And I guess drinking was something I did by myself. And so I separated that, and I broke that. And to put that back together is not easy. But, as you said, one day at a time. And it's been over 3.5 years for me now. So, yeah, good question.
Is it like an honesty thing now, and that it's more honest?
Well, absolutely. Like, whereas my go-to, if I had a fight or an argument, would be, I'd shut down. I'll just go, I've got to get through this fight.
Can't deal.
Yeah, I've got to get through this fight. I've got to get through this argument. It doesn't matter, because I know that the 4 drinks I just had in the garage are going to be sitting in soon, and I'll be asleep, and tomorrow it won't matter. And I'll deal with it tomorrow.
It'll be over. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it was just always pushing, that fight forward. Or I would acquiesce. I'll just go, yep, sure, you're right, no worries. And because I didn't care, because I was checked out. At 4 o'clock every day, I was checked out. Nothing else mattered. I'd done my bit, and I was out of there. But yeah, did you find it similar?
Yeah. I'm finding now that I'm sober that I can do more in the evenings, because they're not wasted, and that I can do other things. I can go out, and I'm coping better. Before I became sober, I to maintain, and this is not a big house and it's not a big lawn, but I've found maintenance for myself, just doing it on my own, really extremely difficult, and I found it overwhelming, and I would end up just in tears, and that before I went to AA, I would be in tears because I'm thinking I can't do the whippersnippering, I can't do it. Like looking after the pool, I found it overwhelming.
Yeah.
But since becoming sober, I'm finding that I can clarify. I've got more clarity as far as, okay, deal with the one situation at a time. And I found a man, like, it was just weird, and I think it was God in a way too. And I was looking for someone to help with the lawn. I want to mow the lawn. I can mow the lawn. I'm fully capable of mowing the lawn, but I just needed someone to do all those finer things that I couldn't do, like the whippersnippering and that sort of thing. And then one day I was coming in from the mail, and a card fell on the floor, and it was a maintenance man, and I rang it, and he lives down the road. And I thought, oh my God, I've just been talking about doing this, finding somebody that will do it for me, and he's doing it every 2 weeks and a minimal fee, and I feel like I'm more in control now because I have sorted the pull out and the maintenance, and I'm happier with the front now with the lawn because I can do it, but I've got help. And I honestly feel like I'm coping with it better because I don't get as overwhelmed as I did. Because maintenance on any property is hard if you've got to do it on your own.
Yeah.
My son does live here, but he works a lot of hours. This is my home, I will do it myself. And I've got neighbours that will say, oh, would be so upset the lawn's looking like it is, and that because he was a motor mechanic plus a mower man, and he had the lawn beautiful, and people do come and comment and say, oh, it looks terrible. And that, so you think I do try, and I was trying really hard, but then in the end when I got overwhelmed by that all, I just have a drink.
Makes it all go away.
Yeah, because I think, well, stop worrying about it. Just stop worrying about it. You can't do anything about it. Just have a drink. And I've found since having my 54 days, and that now I just have a greater sense of control over it. And that I have a greater sense of control, and things have fallen into place better. But yeah, the card fell on the floor from the mailbox, and I thought, who's this? And this man turns out he's just starting a business.
No, that's excellent.
Yeah.
No, it's really good.
Lovely man.
I was listening to somebody who was talking about addiction and trauma, and they mentioned that they said nobody wants to be an addict. Because nobody wants to be a drug addict. No one wants to be an alcoholic. They said the alcohol and the drugs are a solution to a problem that there's no other solution for at the time. It becomes easier the first time you pick it up, to pick it up the second time and the third time. And that really resonated with me. And it's, and just to hear someone say like something as what we look at now and go, something as simple as just tidying up the front lawn, to go, it's just too much. And that's what our go-to was because of that spiral downwards. Was there a precipitating factor that got you to go, I need to get help? Was there a rock bottom, or?
I've thought about what it was, and as I said, I've had drunken falls, accidents, and embarrassing accidents, like the one where I went to an open bar Christmas party with work. Everybody from work was there. This is years ago. I didn't go to another Christmas party after that. I ended up in hospital, so it was so embarrassing, but it didn't stop me drinking. Mm. And then when I did a European river cruise, I was 5 days in on a 15-day cruise, and that disco night, and that fractured my wrist, still causing problems, still wasn't enough to stop me from drinking. It was the reunion day that I went, and I went, met up with some people that I'd worked with for 20 years, took 2 bottles of wine, served one to a friend, and then drank the rest of them. And I think that was my moment of, oh my God, I was disappointed with myself, but I could feel other disappointment from other people. And I have been in touch with a friend that was there, and she was not aware, but because I said, I've got to stop drinking, because I know I was very loud that day. But I think the fact that I drank 2 bottles of wine that I'd taken there to share, that really was my AA moment where I thought, okay, this has just gone too far. And it wasn't drunken falls, it wasn't having to be hospitalised and having surgery. It wasn't any of those things that made me stop. It was the fact that I'd taken wine and that tour and drank them both. And drove home, and I remember driving home, but I shouldn't have been. And I rang a friend, and that because I'm thinking she's disappointed in me, but she wasn't aware that I had this issue so badly. So I think she was just being nice, really. But that was when I went to AA after that, and I haven't had a drink since then because I was disappointed, and I wasn't. And there's been so many other things that I could have stopped with, but it was going to this reunion, taking 2 bottles of wine and drinking them.
Yeah. In
front of old friends and becoming very loud.
When you realise that you drink differently to other people, it's funny you say that work stuff. We at work we received a hamper from one of our contractors, and he sent it to a number of key people within the office, and I got one, and it had a selection of beers in it, and there was my accounts manager and also one of the members of the national finance team, and they said, "Oh, will you take one of the beers?" I said, "Oh, no." And they're like, and then he looked at it and goes, "Oh, look, I don't like that beer. I won't drink it." And the lady who was there as well, she goes, "Oh yeah," she goes, I drink for the taste." And I just looked at him. I said, I don't drink anymore. I said, "But are you serious?" They're like, "Yeah, we drink for the taste." Like, she goes, "Yeah, I'll put a drink down if I don't like it." I said, "You know what? If my drink tasted terrible, it wouldn't matter." I said, It was the alcohol that was the first and only priority. I have drunk some horrible things that have contained alcohol, and the taste. I said to these 2 people, and they've never seen me drunk at all because, well, firstly it's at work, and secondly it's I've been sober the entire time I've worked there. But I looked at them and I said, "No." I said it's the alcohol that's the most important thing in that. I said if the drink tastes good, it's a bonus.
Yeah.
I said that's it.
It's a side issue.
That's a side bonus. It's not a necessary. It's a nice to have. Yeah. I said, but no. And I didn't tell them this, but I remember once I was at my mother-in-law's house and I was desperate for a drink because I used to hide my alcohol under her house, like underneath, and I'd go and get it, and I thought, I can't go get it in the middle of the night, it'd be too obvious. So I went to her kitchen and I found rice wine vinegar. On the bottle it says not for drinking, but it has a high alcohol content. So I drank half of it. It tasted the worst thing I've ever tasted in my life, but I didn't care because it got me through that night.
And in your mind was, I can't get it from underneath the house, so this has to be it.
It would raise too many questions if I was to go downstairs out the back door, turn on the light, and what's going on with that? So it's one of those things where you just go.
But that's the one thing I think AA has done, having something in common and knowing that your drinking is similar to other people's. I don't know anybody that drinks like me. And that not anyone that I would go out socially with, I drink fast and then I'm written off. That I'm just no good, and that I'm written off. But nobody drinks like that I know. Yeah. It was just me that drank like that.
Apart from us, huh?
Yeah, but it was just me. No, but it was just me that drank like that. And I couldn't understand how people go out and have 1 or 2 drinks and that's it.
Yeah.
But me, no, I will go out. And I was at an AA meeting just a few weeks ago, and I know one of the girls there, and that I didn't realise, and that she went there. I looked after her mum when she was in coronary care, and she was a friend of mine. And her dad was there, and I know him because it was his wife I looked after. And he said, "Oh, you've got the same problem as his daughter, and that you drink fast and then you're out." Yeah. And I'm thinking that's exactly what it is. I drink fast. I just drink as much as I can. And it's not a deliberate thing. It's just the way I drink. I just drink because I'm enjoying it, and I just pour another one, and then I'm out, and I'm written off. And it wasn't that I was deliberately trying to write myself off. It was just that I was enjoying the wine, and that was it. And that's what I drink like, and that's obviously alcoholism.
Yeah, alcohol was my number one love. It was the only reason. It was all I thought about. Everything in my life, and this is what was scary for me, was my wife, my children, my job. Everything just became an obstacle in the way of getting my next drink. And most people they dream of retiring and having a nice house, or traveling or doing anything. I wanted to buy a boat so that I could put all my alcohol in it and go out and just drink, and no one could see me, no one could judge me, no one could worry about it, and I would just sit there and drink. But that's what I used to fantasize about. And I don't anymore. I fantasize about other things, which is good. Look, we're going to be coming to an end soon, but what advice do you have for people who think they might have a problem, who are thinking about reaching out? What advice would you have to someone in your situation that 3 months ago?
I think was what I go to AA, and that I have appreciated the fellowship, the fact that there are things we all have in common when we go to the meetings. Just keep going to the meetings and just keep coming and just support each other. That's the support that I've received from AA is what I go back for, plus the fact that the amount of support. I think that's what I keep telling people. That was what was told to me in my first meeting. Just keep coming. And that meant a lot to me, because I'm thinking, okay, well, I can do that. That's such a simple thing to do, but I can do that. I have my daughter's partner. She's had some real issues with his drinking, and she said, Mum, he started going to AA. And I think, I won't reach out to him yet, but she said, I want to go to one of the meetings. Would that be allowed? And I said, yes, go and find out what it's like, just to support him and know, and that don't nag, don't get at him, and that just let him find his way, and he will. But I think the best thing that I ever would get from being in AA and going into the rooms is just keep coming.
It is. It's a simple thing. Just simply being there is a help. And I've never been in a place with more love and less judgment than in the rooms of AA. And I walked in with all my walls up. I was there going, how on earth are these people sober? And I'd look at people, and I know now, because I know them well, I'd look at people and go, I bet they're lying. I bet they're not really, not drinking. I bet they're twitching their leg. I bet they're itching to get a drink. And I'll be there judging them and looking at them. Yeah, because
your trust and that, your trust is not there. Yeah.
And it took me a long time to actually realise that everybody there, they just want the best for you. They want you to just have a good life. And I was helping a friend stop drinking, and he's still struggling with it quite badly. And we were in the car, and I was taking him to a meeting, and he said to me, he goes, why are you doing this? He goes, you got a family, you got other things going on, you got a job. And I looked at him and I said, because I know that you're living a shadow of the life that you could possibly live. And I want to try and help you become what you're meant to be. The alcoholic that can't get out of bed without smoking cones, without 2 or 3 bottles of whatever it might be. I said, that is not who you're meant to be. And he looked at me and I sit there and I could see it in his eyes. He thought he's there going, he goes, man, he goes, that hurts. I said, it's true. He goes,
it's like they're opting out. You're opting out of life rather than trying to get in the middle of it and live it, and that you're opting out.
Absolutely. But look, thank you so much for sharing your story, and I really hope it helps a lot of people. What we normally do now is we just say the Serenity Prayer together.
God grant me the serenity
to accept the things I cannot change, the courage to change the things I can, and the wisdom to know the difference. Thank you so much for sharing your story. Thank you for joining us here today on Beyond Sobriety. Before we wrap up, I'd like to leave you with a gentle reminder. If you happen to recognise anyone who shared their story on this podcast, I urge you to respect their anonymity and privacy. Let's create a safe space where individuals can feel empowered to share their experiences without fear of judgment or disclosure. If you found today's episode helpful or inspiring, I encourage you to share Beyond Sobriety with someone who might benefit from it. Together we can spread awareness, support and hope to those still struggling with alcohol addiction. Remember, your feedback is invaluable to us. If you have any thoughts, suggestions, or stories you'd like to share, please don't hesitate to reach out to me on anonymousAA01011990@gmail.com. Thank you once again for tuning in. Until next time, stay strong, stay sober, and remember, you're not alone in this journey. I'm Michael, and I'm an alcoholic.